Welcome to English Evidently Podcast, the place where you improve your English every single day simply by listening.
Greetings. I'm Leo, and I'm a joiner. My world is one of wood, measured not in words, but in millimeters, grain patterns, and the silent language of joinery. I don't just build furniture. I create the quiet, lasting structures of daily life: doors, windows, cabinets, and stairs. Welcome to a day in my workshop, where dust is the byproduct of creation. The true beginning of my day is not the turn of a key, but the first breath I take upon opening the workshop door. It hits me every morning, that rich, layered perfume of timber, the vanilla sweetness of fresh-cut pine, the deep, almost spicy aroma of walnut, the clean, sharp scent of maple. It's the smell of a library written in grain, not ink. The morning sun, still low and gentle, filters through the high, dust-filmed windows, casting long, soft beams that illuminate entire galaxies of sawdust motes suspended in the still air. The silence is profound, a held breath. My first task is not to make, but to understand. I unroll the crisp technical drawings across my solid, scarred workbench, using old coffee mugs as paperweights. My eyes don't just scan, they travel. They follow the elevation of a built-in bookcase, cross-reference it with the section detail, and visualize the carcass in 3 dimensions within the empty space of the shop. I move to the timber rack, my hand running along the edge of a wide oak board. I feel its heft, note the cathedral arch of its grain, and look for the subtle tension in its growth rings that tells of its stability. This board will become a door front. That one, with its straighter grain, is destined for a load-bearing style. Each selection is a silent conversation between the tree's history and my design's future. Finally, I take my sharp pencil and my trusted steel engineer square. On the face of the chosen board, I mark the first lines, long, straight guidelines for ripping, small, precise crosses for cutting joinery. The soft scratch of graphite on wood is the first true sound of the day, a whisper of intent. In this quiet hour, surrounded by scent and light and potential, I am not just a craftsman, I am a translator, turning the abstract lines on paper into a language the wood itself will understand. The foundation of a perfect piece is laid here, in the silence before the saws sing. With the plan now a map drawn directly on the wood, the workshop's quiet contemplation ends. I pull on my ear defenders, the world muffling to a low hum, and secure my safety glasses. The first machine to break the silence is the table saw. I line up the penciled mark with the blade's faint shadow, engage the riving knife, and press the start button. Its electric whine climbs to a sustained, powerful roar that vibrates in my chest. I feed the oak board forward, my hands acting as steady guides, and the blade screams through the fibers. A plume of warm, sweet-smelling sawdust erupts from the guard, and the 2 pieces separate with a clean, sharp edge, the fresh-cut surface smooth and blonde. Next comes the thickness planer, a beast of a machine. I feed a rough-sawn walnut plank into its maw. As the rollers grip it, a deep, rumbling groan fills the shop. The cutter head inside spins with a terrifying metallic whir, taking a gossamer thin shaving with each pass. From the other side, the board emerges smoother, thinner, and dressed in delicate curly shavings that coil onto the floor like fragrant wood ribbons. The scent is incredible, the very essence of walnut released into the air. For curved components, the bandsaw takes over. Its low, resonant hum is a different music. I guide a piece of maple along a curved line I've drawn, the blade bending through the cut with a soft, tearing sound, leaving a burnished, smooth kerf behind. Each machine has its purpose. The jointer, with its spinning helical cutter head, sings a high-pitched song as it creates a flawlessly straight and square edge, the true reference for all that follows. The router table, with a profile bit installed, adds a voice of its own, a rising, assertive whine as it shapes a decorative ovalo or a clean chamfer along an edge. The rough, bark-clad boards are gone. In their place is a growing stack of precise, aromatic components, their dimensions exact, their edges crisp, ready for the intimate conversation of hand tools. The symphony of power tools is a song of transformation, turning the wild into the orderly. The whir and roar of the machines falls silent. Now the workshop's soundtrack becomes intimate. The soft scrape of a sharpened pencil, the decisive tick of a marking knife scoring a perfect line across the grain, and the quiet, solid weight of a brass marking gauge being rolled along an edge. I am at my best, an island of solid oak under the bright, unforgiving light of my task lamp. This is where joinery happens, where wood learns to hold hands with itself. I'm cutting dovetails for a drawer. With the tails marked on the end of a pine board, I secure it upright in my vise. The dovetail saw is an extension of my arm, thin-bladed, razor-sharp, and responsive. I start the cut with a gentle backward stroke to create a kerf, then begin the rhythm, a light, precise pull, a confident push, the sound a soft, rhythmic shush-shush-shush. The sawdust that falls is fine and blonde. The waste wood between the tails is removed not with a machine, but with a sharp chisel and a mallet. I position the chisel's bevel facing the waste side, tap it to depth with a firm thwack, then lever the little block of wood free with a crisp pop. Now I use the finished tails to mark the corresponding pins on the drawer front. I transfer the pattern with absolute care, for any error here will be visible forever. The cutting of the pins requires even more focus, sawing just on the waste side of the knife line. The true test is the dry fit. I align the tails with their sockets and gently tap the joint together with the palm of my hand. There should be a slight resistance, then a soft, conclusive snick when the parts seat fully. No gap is visible. The seam is a hairline whisper. I can lift the entire assembly by one piece. The mechanical lock of the dovetails holds it fast without a drop of glue. This silent, seamless marriage of wood to wood, this hidden intelligence within the piece, is the core of my craft. It is strength born from geometry and patience, a secret handshake that will last a century.
With every joint meticulously cut and whispering a perfect fit in its dry assembly, the workshop enters a phase of tense, beautiful anticipation. This is the point of no return, the glue-up. I clear a large, flat area on my assembly table, checking its surface with a long level. The air, already thick with the scent of wood, now takes on the familiar, slightly sweet and pungent smell of aliphatic resin wood glue as I squeeze a generous amount into a shallow dish. Using a small, disposable brush, I work with deliberate speed. I coat every mating surface, the cheeks of each tenon, the walls of every mortise, the long grain edges of a panel. The glue must be even, not excessive. Its job is to disappear into the joint, not ooze out in messy rivulets. This is a carefully choreographed race against the glue's initial grab. I reassemble the piece, let's say a cabinet carcass, section by section. The dovetails slide home, the tenons enter their mortises, but now with a slick, wet hesitation. Then I reach for the clamps. They are the surgeon's tools of this operation. Long steel bar clamps are spanned across the width of the carcass. Heavy-duty pipe clamps groan as I thread them through the openings. Deep-throated F-clamps bite onto edges. I place wooden pads between the clamp jaws and the finished wood to prevent bruises. As I begin to tighten each clamp in a star-patterned sequence, a new symphony arises, the creak of stressed steel, the soft crunch of wood fibers settling under pressure, and the faint, wet squeak of glue being displaced. A thin, amber bead weeps from every seam, a sign of good contact. Within minutes, the piece is transformed. It is no longer a collection of parts, but a single entity caught in a spiderweb of steel under immense, uniform pressure. I wipe away the squeezed-out glue with a damp rag, leaving behind only the hint of a seam. Now I must walk away. The clamped assembly sits in the center of the shop like a strange metallic sculpture. For the next several hours, as I work on other tasks, the glue cures. The chemical bond becomes one with the mechanical lock of the joints. What was many is becoming one. The forest of clamps is not a cage, but a womb. The clamps are removed, their impressions leaving only faint, temporary witnesses on the protective wooden pads. What stands before me is solid, square, and true, but it is raw. The surfaces bear the whispers of my tools, the subtle ridges left by the planer, the faint scribe lines of my marking knife, the minute tear-out from an eager router bit. Now begins the transformative, meditative process of erasing the history of its making to reveal the soul of the wood itself. I start with the coarse grit. The random orbital sander comes to life with a low, aggressive buzz, its pad dancing in my hand. A cloud of fine, tan dust lifts into the air, carrying the hot, toasted scent of worked wood. This first pass is about flattening and fairness, removing the obvious imperfections, knocking down sharp arises into gentle, broken edges. It is loud and physical. As I progress through the grits, from coarse to medium to fine, the sound changes. The angry buzz softens to a persistent hum, and finally to a gentle, whispering whir. The dust becomes finer, almost talcum-like, and the scent mellows. This is when the magic happens. Under the rhythmic sweep of the sander, the wood begins to unveil itself. In a panel of cherry, a hidden fiddleback figure shimmers to life like silk under moving light. In a slab of ash, the bold cathedral grain deepens from a pale suggestion to a dramatic topographic landscape. I shut off the sander, the silence sudden and profound. I blow away the fine dust and run my bare hand over the surface. The change is extraordinary. It has moved from a tactile language of scratches and ridges to one of seamless, silken continuity. The wood is no longer a construction material. It is a canvas, and its natural beauty is the artwork, finally ready to be seen and felt. This patient, dusty revelation is a reward for all the precise violence that came before. With the sanding complete and every surface feeling like polished stone under my palm, the workshop enters its final, almost sacred phase. I move the piece to my finishing area, a cleaner, still corner where dust is banished. The air here smells only of wood and anticipation. I open a can of hard wax oil, and a mild, nutty fragrance blooms. Pouring a small pool onto the silken surface, I begin to spread it with a lint-free cloth in long, loving circles. This is not painting, it is an awakening. The moment the oil touches the sanded wood, a miracle occurs. The thirsty fibers drink it in, and the entire piece seems to take a deep, revitalizing breath. The colors deepen and warm. The pale maple becomes a rich honey gold. The cherry glows with a ruddy inner light. The grain, that hidden topography I revealed, now pops into three-dimensional clarity, each pore and ray shimmering with depth. I wipe away the excess, leaving behind a thin, nourishing film. After it cures, I'll sand minimally with an ultra-fine abrasive and apply a second coat, building a soft, satin sheen that feels like warm skin to the touch, not plastic. Finally, I attach the hardware. The solid brass poles I've chosen, their weight substantial in my hand, are fitted into precisely drilled holes. The soft close hinges are mounted, their mechanism giving a satisfying, hushed shh click as the door closes. I step back, wiping my hands on a clean rag. The piece is finished. It stands in the workshop light, silent, solid, and complete. All the noise, the dust, the countless measurements and adjustments, the careful violence of tools, and the patience of glue, all of it is now hidden within this beautiful, quiet object. It holds only the evidence of its purpose and its material. The fatigue in my shoulders is deep, but it is a clean and fulfilling tiredness. I have not just built a thing, I have given a lasting, useful, and beautiful form to a tree's story. As I sweep the fine, final dust and put my tools to bed, I turn off the lights. The workshop rests, holding the gentle scent of oil and oak and the silent, sturdy presence of a new thing well made.